Hi, I'm Nathan. I'm going to be discussing some sections of the sound final project. First of all, as a user, you want to go and click a load sample product button. I'm just going to do the first one. And so what you do is you find your already saved sounds. And so whenever you do that, if it's a successful file, it'll show up as a pop-up. So now when you have that, you can click play sample. And I click stop all sample. Basically what it will do is it'll play the sound of the sample, and then it would also play the amplitude and frequency of the sample based on its amplitude and time. Basically showing its graph of the sound. If I did not have a loaded sample for load sample two like I have right here, if I click play sample two, it will show up as an error dialog, no file detected. So now I'll click play sample two. When I play these two together, they'll kind of mesh. On the other side, we have save panels. If I wanted to save a song with a playback, so basically edit the song and I want to save it, what I do is I go to a sample, whatever song I want, I'll do sample two, and I'll go to a certain playback and I'll click this, and I'll go and click save playback. Well, let's do that. I'll click save. And so now I'll go to load in a new sample and playback new, shows it's successful. So now it's a new song and it's very different from the previous one. And so now if I wanted to then add it and give it reverb, I just go to sample three, give it reverb. So now I'm gonna click save reverb, click save. Now go load it, and now there are two things I edited for it. Okay, so now we have that. I'll just quickly go over the code aspect of it. I'll go quickly to load sample. And so for each of these callbacks, there's 9 of them. Each one's basically going to have a file path, a UI get file. And so if there isn't a file, which is equal, then there'll be an error dialog saying no file is detected. So for the play button, it'll basically, if there's nothing in there, it won't play anything. It'll show up as undetected. And that sound feature will basically just play the amplitude and the frequency of or time frequency of the sound. Every time you play it, it will also plot it on the graph as you saw on the top left. These save functions, there are multiple for each one. They're all quite similar in way. The UI put file where you're able to then download the file that you just created.
Hi, my name is Kai, and I did the entire sample editing section that you see here in the middle. So I have two samples loaded into sample one and sample two, each different. And from the select sample dropdown, we can select which ones we want to play and edit.
Bruh.
As you can see, they are graphed. We can see the display name, and we can also see the duration in seconds. And there's an example with another. So playback is just going to affect the audio rate as well as if it's forward or in reverse. So we can slow it down and reverse it. Echo is going to create an echo with the slider value changing the delay of the echo. As you can see, the echo came much later for the larger value. Reverb is going to create a reverb with the reverberations depending on the slider value. So you might not have heard it there, but you can really hear it there. Loops is just going to play our sample multiple times, so we can do 3 loops. As you can hear, it played it 3 times. Filter just plays a filter over the sound file, and you can see the effects here in the graph. So here's a low pass filter, a high pass filter, a band pass filter, and a band stop filter. And then here is the volume knob, and here's what we've been listening to it like normal. And then here's 50% and 25. You could hear it getting quieter and quieter for the lower values. So let's go back to the first sample.
Bruh.
As you can see, there's this unwanted section of delay before the actual audio starts playing. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So we do the start time, this is where the audio will start, and then we can do an end time, which is where the audio will end.
Bruh.
As you can see, it became much shorter with the unwanted delay being removed. Splice and crossfade are very similar, however, splice has no sort of transition. So first we'll need 2 samples. So let's just do sample 1 and sample 2, And splicing is just going to connect the two audios together.
bruh,
So as you can see here, they connected it. However, there was a little bit of a gap. So if we want to get rid of that gap, crossfade, what that's going to do is going to create a transition of the end of the first sample and the beginning of the second sample overlapping with the amount of time that we choose. So let's do a 0.5 overlap.
bruh,
As you can see and hear, the transition was much more seamless. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the code. Okay, first for the select sample dropdown, we just have a switch case, which will have the loaded file and the sample rate as whatever sample we choose. Next, the play button is just played using the sound. For the playback, we have another switch case, and if it is negative, then it will take it from the end and use the value as an increment all the way to the beginning for the audio data, or we just multiply it by the audio rate if it's forward. Filter dropdown, we had to use the signal processing toolbox, and basically it just allows us to take these functions and input the data, which will then return a filtered audio. For the echo slider, we just multiply the audio sample rate by the delay time, and then we kind of just add it on to the original audio using a for loop. For the chop sample button, all we're doing is creating a start index and an end index, which are the times that we choose, and then we input it in here, and then that will return us our chopped sound. For the splice samples, what we're doing is we have two switch cases because we have to choose two audio datas, and we are just concatenating it by putting them together such as an array. For the crossfade, all we're doing is the same as the splice, except we have a fade in and fade out that we are multiplying by the end and the beginning of the samples with the chosen crossfade value. And then we are just putting them together by setting them as an array with the crossfade in between. For reverb slider, what we're doing is we are setting delay samples. And then in the for loop, what we're doing is we're just adding it however many times is chosen by the slider.
Hello, my name is Ebony Shai, and today I will be showing you my code. So here I have the run version of my code, and I will be showing you how it works. So I'm going to play a note, and I'm going to first select the wave type and play a note. And you can even select different wave types. And now I'm going to show you how the recording part of my project works. So I'm going to start a recording. Now I'll stop the recording, and now I'm going to save this recording. It's as the same thing as I just played. For the second part of my code, I will show you my equalizer. So basically, I'm going to load a sample, and I'm going to select music. After I load the sample, I'm going to select this sample number 1, and then I'm going to play it and play with this equalizer. So as you can see, the equalizer creates an effect on the music as it should, and by changing the different the sliders, you have different sounds. So I'm going to explain the code now. So here I have the switch case with sine, square, and sawtooth, and each one plays a different sound for the same amount of time and creates a different tone and plots it on the graph as you saw. And the different notes have different frequencies that just searched up, and they're correct piano tone frequencies. And lastly, for the sliders, I have just a filter. Excuse me. I just have a the hertz multiplied by the times multiplied by the sound value, and it creates this filter that what you hear, and it creates different tones, and it outputs this sound right here, and then plots it on the graph. So yeah, thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed.